After a long winter break, we're back for the 2026 season. There are a couple of changes afoot for the coming year. Dara's taking a bit more of a back seat with the show. He's not leaving us altogether though, and he will be joining us for the book club episodes, and we've a couple of these planned for the season ahead, so we'll be catching up with them then. The format for the year is I'll be joined for the next couple of episodes by some guest presenters. We'll have anglers on who have appeared regularly with us and will be no strangers to you, the listeners. Our first guest presenter is Garrett Ruigrok. Garrett has been with us a couple of times on the show. He's based up on beside the River Moy and is a mad keen salmon angler. The next episode hopefully will see us joined by trout angler Mike Keating. This week's episode has Conor Arnold from the Blackwater, a friend of the show, joining us. We've had Conor on a couple of times before and he's always had some fantastic insights into salmon fishing. Conor also came to national prominence after the catastrophic fish kill on the River Blackwater last year, and we do discuss this a bit with him and the fallout from it. We wanted to ask Conor about the outlook for the 2026 season, and maybe early signs that there might be an improvement on what was a very poor season last year. We also discuss with him a bit of tactics for those who are brave enough to go looking for a springer on the fly at this time of the year. So keep your ears open, there's some really good tips there. But before we listen to Conor, Garrett, how did last year end up for you?
Last year, wow, that's gone back a bit now, Tom. It was okay. It was hard going. It was hard going. Got a few fish, but I had to work harder last year than any other year for my fish.
Yeah.
I had a couple of springers. I had a good trip to Iceland, fished hard and some lovely good fish in Iceland.
That's right. Back. Actually, I wanted to ask you. Go on. Yeah, finish. I want to ask you about Iceland.
Just kind of going through my little routine here. Came back here, a couple of good spates, with a few fish on the upper Moy. The lower Moy wasn't great for me last year. It was closed a couple of times with heat waves and whatnot, and the fish were sour. After a couple of spates, got a few fish on the upper Moy, and then the other spate rivers, other places around Mayo, were reasonably good to me towards the end of the year. One in particular found a few pods of fish in it, reasonably good. So it was grand. It was grand back end of the season. And then I got a lovely invite to go fishing in the Seychelles, saltwater fishing.
Which no doubt you flatly refused.
Absolutely grabbed it with both hands.
Yeah, you just couldn't. And how long did you go to? How long were you there for?
What we did 8 days fishing.
Oh.
It was good. It was great. It was great. Now, the main thing we were looking for were giant trevallies, but
GTs, yeah.
They just didn't show up that week.
Right.
The week we were there and the week before, there was a big hatch of red crab further out at sea, and the GTs just left the atolls where we were, and they're all just out at sea gorging on crab. So we good sport on other fish, like we were hammering bones, like bones up to 6, 7, 8 pound weight, permit. Barracudas, if you're trying to avoid the barracudas, because you'll hook him, but then he'll snap you off. A couple of the boys got milkfish, triggerfish were fantastic fishing. It was great. Yeah, it was great. It was great. Just fishing in 32 degrees heat. It was very, very pleasant. A man could get used to it.
Yeah, and is it like tropical island paradise?
It's stunning. There are no words. There are no words. It was stunning. I was with another Irish party, a group of chaps I know, buddies, friends of mine, and availability came up late. One of the chaps couldn't travel, and I stepped in gladly in his place. The company made it. The weather was great, food was great, and the fishing was next level. Yeah,
excellent. And is there any chance of a return invitation, a repeat invitation, I should say?
Yeah. Wait and see.
Yeah,
wait and see. But I know what the answer will be. The answer will definitely be yes.
Bite your hand off. Yeah, no, you mentioned Iceland there, and I want to get back to it. You've got to Iceland a few times, haven't you?
Yeah, I fished. I think I've done 7 or 8 years. I'm going to Iceland now. A couple of trips. I think I fished 8 or 9 different river systems in it. This year I was on the East Ranga. Chap Peter Rippon looks after the management of it. And they were one of the 3 rivers in Iceland who actually blipped the trend. They had increasing numbers of fish. They are not on the big spiral downturn because he doesn't really know why, but I think it might be good smolt management. It's a hatchery based. and they keep their smolts back that little bit longer till they have that extra bit of condition on them to give them every fighting chance when they get out to sea. It's not, come here, it's a bit of a dark art, but what himself and his team did, they had very good numbers of fish last year. Like you're getting fish 10, 12, 14, 15. I'd one fish. I'd love to say he made the 20. He didn't. He was 19 odd. But
Right.
that's just that's what you live for as a salmon fisherman.
Yeah.
It was class. But on the same note, I'm getting a bit giddy now and getting ready to get out here on our own rivers. Like it won't be long now.
Yeah. You won't, so you're taking a wee bit of a break and then you're getting going to be full on into it then. What you'd be
Yep.
looking at April, really, isn't it?
April is time enough over here with us. Yeah. The
Yeah.
Moy over here and with the West Coast rivers. One river tends to get early springers, the Owen Duff.
Mm.
They tend to get a burst of early fish, but the Owen Duff it's syndicated and it's you won't get day rods on it per se.
Yeah. You have to plan,
So
really. You have to, plan and take a
yeah.
chance.
And
Yeah.
then with your syndicated rivers, you take your chance. You might get a week where you've rain, you've water, you might have fish. And then for most of the weeks, you pack your golf clubs and your swimming togs because maybe no water and bright sunshine. Just,
Yeah.
you take your chance like everywhere.
Yeah. I suppose like that is the one thing. I mean, probably where we are, well, particularly where you are. All right, there's a limited amount of early season spring fishing, but really, I mean, it's really the highlight of it, I suppose, is the summer fishing, isn't it?
Totally. Like some of my buddies here in Mayo are traveling the hour up the road and going to the Drows. Like the Drows are starting to get a few fish now.
Mm.
Like 20 years ago, you'd be a couple of fish got
Yeah,
from opening day, but everything it's later. Look, fish numbers are fewer, but even that, the cycles have changed. Fish are coming later. You're asking me about how did my season end last year? After the season had ended, hearing reports from waterkeepers who were keeping an eye on the river after the season ended, the people living on the side of the banks of the river. My buddy David, he works in Ballina, and every time at lunchtime he walks along the river for his own exercise. And he rang me middle of last October. He said, "There were fish going good-o." Like he was only just above the tidal. So are they coming later? Hopefully so. I heard reports from other lads upstream seeing good movements of fish later in the year. I don't know, are they silverfish or are they fish that were lying up? But if they're
yeah,
going later, great. But it'd be great, great, great. Even if they are late, better late than not coming at all.
yeah. It's good. It's good. Well, it's interesting there, because like, and we'll see, because when we're chatting to Connor and yourself, I mean, and it's a thing that's been highlighted to me as well about the the podcast is, a bit of positivity on Salmon wouldn't go astray, and it was nice. And dear, you say that, and those reports as well, which I actually funny that you mentioned that because I was told that as well from other sources that there was a lot of fish seen on the Reds, and as you said, were they late or whatever. But like, it's nice to get a bit of positivity, isn't it?
Yeah. And look, we're anglers. Like if we don't have optimism, we might as well stay at home sitting on the couch. We don't go out expecting to catch a fish, but you'd like to think and hope there is something in the pool that'll give you a pull. We're salmon anglers. Like this is what we're not numbers men. If every day you go out and you meet a fish, that's a very, very, very good day. So I'm not doom and glooming on it. I think we're still okay yet.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Well, anyway, we'll switch over now, and we've talked to Connor now. And I first asked Connor what his hopes were for the season coming up, 2026. Well, Connor, what are your hopes for 2026 after what was last year? Probably not one of the better ones, to give it a slight understatement. So, what's your feeling for what's coming up?
How we doing, guys? Nice to hear from you again. Yeah, so things can only get better. Yeah, look, from what was a miserable end to the season, we're back. Start of the season, we've had quite a lot of high water, so we haven't really got a chance to see what's in the river yet. But looking at reports from elsewhere, both abroad and at home, there is some early optimism about numbers of fish. Um, Definitely up on last year and this time last year. So it is encouraging. And being salmon anglers, we kind of are the eternal optimists. So just keep the fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think we always have to be the eternal optimists. I mean, particularly with salmon fishing. But year on year, what's it looking like? I know this is early. What are we? We're at the middle to the end of March. Is there any
Yeah.
comparisons you could put even now compared to last year?
See, it's difficult because, as you know, the conditions vary year on year. So it is hard when we're so early in the season. But definitely on the rivers that are fishable and open with a few weeks, they're definitely up on last year from what I can see anyway. I would say they're probably ahead of a 3-year average. And that's at home. Abroad, definitely in Scotland, as the ones we've been watching, a lot of them were slightly before us to start, but they seem to be well up on their 5-year average, I would say, as well, by the looks of it. So, yeah, here's hoping.
Yeah,
Right.
if I can just come in there with you, Connor. Good evening, Garrett here. How are you? Just you mentioned Scotland there. I was chatting with a buddy of mine yesterday, and he regularly fishes the Tay, which is a big lump of river. Their levels aren't quite as high this year, and a beat he goes to Taymount and Stobhull, which
Yep.
generally wouldn't produce until later in the year. They've had up in the region of 46, 47 fish landed already, and an equal amount of fish bumped. Uh, the same chap, he had an early week on it, and he didn't travel this year because he wasn't expect much on it. And his buddies landed 11 for the week that he didn't go on. So not too great for him, but on the positives for everyone else, it's some places are starting to pick up. We're hearing of a few coming off various rivers here. It's slow, but here's to look forward to. I'm keeping the fingers crossed for good results for this year.
Yeah, just wondering there, actually, what are the reports around the country at the moment? Let's say down your neck of the woods, what are the reports there so far, Connor?
For us here in the Blackwater, we haven't really had an opportunity to fish the river. It's been too high. With all the rain that we've had, we've just had consistent high water, and it's extremely slow to drop at this time of year because there's no growth there. So there's been only a handful of days that it's been even high water fishing. Now there's whispers. I did hear a whisper of a fish caught upstream of me here and one downstream as well. But with the settled spell that we have, the next few days should be interesting because it's starting to come into order.
Right.
So all over the weekend there now, if we can get a crack at it, we might have a chance to see what's in the river. So hopefully, some of the other rivers around here are fishing okay. Like, I mean, even the Lee and Cork there now, I've heard of a few fish off that, and a few other rivers back towards Kerry as well. There's been fish coming off them. So it's not looking too bad. Early doors, early doors.
Well, that sounds good. And you, Gareth, anything up? What have you been hearing in other
With
parts?
us in the west here, obviously Galway, no one has been on Galway yet, too high. The main beats on the Moy, too high for fishing, but I do know of a fish caught well upstream of the Moy last week. That's the first official one recorded off it. There's a few places further upstream that you will never hear what's happening up above, and that's generally where the early ones run to, and it's where they invariably are caught. Delphi, I think it's 4 or 5 recorded and a few more bumped. The Drows, I think, started waking up in the last 10 days. There were a few off it early. I think there might have been 4 or 5 landed on it last week. Oh, bit by bit, they're starting to wake up. Couple of little sneaky rivers up in Donegal that wouldn't be very, very well publicised, and I'm not going to publicise them, but I've heard of a few fish coming up them too. The bigger rivers, I don't know if the Mourne is even open yet. Haven't heard any major reports from the Finn, but look, we're middle of March, starting to see a few. It's only getting better, chaps. And as Conor has said, conditions have been far from ideal. A lot of water, and it's only starting to clear now. There's a little lake beside me here. I was down getting a boat off it today. First chance I could really get into it because the water table's been so high. The little access road into it has been flooded. So hopefully next couple of weeks it'll start falling off and make things more fishable.
Yeah, well, and today we're seeing the first bit of a spike in temperature as well. I know with that, so that's brought it up. So yeah, I know that's only hopefully going to argue well for it. But I have to say, like in comparison, I think when we did an early one last year, I don't think there was reports of as many spring fish last year. Now, this is just me in my head playing. Maybe it's because I'm starting from a really low base point now, and I'm thinking, oh my God, after last year, it's abysmal. But my memory last year was really poor at the start, and like there was no springers to be seen. But like you're both saying there, there's been a few fish caught already.
Yeah, you're bang on, Tom. The other thing I would say about it is that we've had, with the high water that we've had quite warm enough temperatures in the river for the fish to keep traveling. There's a lot of rivers would have barriers for migrating fish, weirs and such like that, and water needs to be around about 8 degrees for them actually to have the physical energy to get over the weirs. So the water temperatures, they varied a little bit, but predominantly they've been between 8 and 10, which will allow the fish to get the whole way through the system. So you could have fish anywhere in the system in these rivers now. So like a good opportunity now for people to actually get out and fish their own water, club water, whatever it is, just to see what's there.
Can I just say this is one of the reasons I love doing this. I gotta say to you now, that is an amazing piece of information. I didn't know that a fish would run a barrier, or wouldn't run a barrier unless the water's over 8 degrees. Wow.
Yeah. So traditionally in the springtime, we would have had probably drier conditions but colder conditions. So any of these barriers, weirs, or so on, fish would have traditionally stacked up behind them. So that's why a lot of these prestigious fisheries in the country would be located on weirs in the lower end of the river. The fish would come in and they can't physically get over the weir, so they have to wait until the temperature is warm enough that they have the muscle activity good enough to get over the weir. So that's why those certain fisheries would have fished well in spring traditionally.
Fascinating. Wow. Every day is a school day.
There you go, Tom.
And so now that the conditions are coming right, when would you hope to be starting now, Conor, on the river?
Like I said,
Is it because, sorry, or should I say,
no.
is it because that the conditions and the water's been so high that you haven't started?
Yeah, that's it
Right.
in a nutshell. Yeah. So, like I said, it's starting to drop. It's starting to come into order. I think it's 1.6 something there today. So it's still high. It's still heavy. But by Saturday there, we should be fishing here.
Right.
Certain beats anyway. So it'll be high water tactics, just sinking lines and all that kind of crack. But at least we'll be able to get into it and fish it in places.
Yeah. What would your outfit be now, the next day starting off?
Well, for me here, like I say, a lot of people know where I am, but just in case, I'm based here on the middle river in the Blackwater. So it's kind of the lower middle river between Mallow and Fermoy. So for me, I'd be fishing a 13 foot 2 and an 8 weight. Some people would be up to a 14 foot and a 9 weight. That's fine, whatever you're comfortable with. But 13 foot is good enough for me. But personally, I would be fishing full sinking lines because at this time of year, water's quite cold. So the fish aren't as active, like we touched on a while ago. So you got to kind of hang the fly in front of them and tease them a little bit to provoke them to get a response. You don't want the fly fishing really quick across the fish because they just don't have the energy to chase it and hammer it. So you just want to provoke them a little bit. So a big-ish fly, so maybe aluminium or brass tube, inch and a half, something like that. Full sinking line, depending on the pool, maybe sink 1, 2, or 3, 4 on a full head and mono running line off 13 footer. That's my go-to setup at this time of year.
But tell me this now. I'm going to ask you, Garrett, because we're talking there to Conor, and Conor, you're predominantly talking about the Blackwater, bigger river. Would you be using like if you were going out now, let's say this weekend, would you be on the same outfit, or because the rivers are smaller, are you going a smaller outfit?
I wouldn't be far. If my early season go to here would be the Upper Moy, the upper reaches of East Mayo.
Right.
Upper reaches of East Mayo, it's not that very big a river. And if you're on your game, yeah, 13 and a half footer, 8 weight, 9 weight will do it for you. Maybe go with the 9 weight. You might still get an upstream wind, or you haven't been casting for a couple of months. Your loops mightn't be as tight as they were last September. So you might want to be a little bit more forgiving on yourself.
Could be a bit in rusty.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it happens to us all.
Something similar to what Conor was saying there. A nice 13 and a half footer. Upper Moy is not a very deep river. It's a couple of pools, but you wouldn't be fishing any more than 7-8 foot down. So maybe an S4 to S2 with maybe 10 foot of bass sinking polyleader, shortish leader fluorocarbon, and take your pick of what's going to be the magic fly. I'd say an aluminium or metal bodied tube. As Conor said there, the thing is getting down to him. They may be there all right, but if he's not going to run to it, he's not going to chase it. So very, very, very similar setup. And it's coming down to knowing your lies, knowing your pools. Later in the year, when there's hopefully a head of fish there, you work your way through all the pools, fishing every little pocket. But this time of year, this is where it comes down to it. If you know your stuff, if you know where they generally lie, that's where I'd be targeting. My spade rivers I normally fish over this way, they wouldn't be that great on springers. They're mainly grill rivers, and the springers tend to run with them in June. So my hopes would be Upper Moy. And I just checked my app while you just threw that question there, Conor. I checked it. East Mayo's at a lovely height, 0.9 on the gauge. A little bit for brave wading, but it's well wadeable. No rain today. It'll be down about 0.86 tomorrow. A man might go out tomorrow afternoon.
It could happen. It could happen. Actually, guys, I'm going to ask you this now. I often wonder this because it's not a thing I do too much. I'll ask you, Conor, what are the takes like in spring? Are they different? Are they, I mean, like you said, because you mentioned there about fishing the fly not quickly, so slower. So do the takes correspond? Or, yeah?
Predominantly, yeah. You look, they're wild fish and they're always breaking the rule books for us. But predominantly, the colder the water is, the slower the take is. And the bigger the fish is, the lazier they are. So the longer it takes to progress. There is a hatful of theories as to what to do when a fish takes. I'll give you my tuppence. Takes a little bit of restraint. But I like to hold a loop line between my fingers. And probably the best advice I'd give someone is the loop of line should be around about the length of the fish you're aiming to catch. So if you're in spring, you're fishing for bigger fish, you have a slightly longer, a bigger loop of line, okay, just to correspond with a bigger fish. When you're on the grills in summer, you can have a smaller loop of line because the fish turn quicker. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I don't drop the loop. I keep it between my fingers, and when a fish takes, I can feel the fish taking the line. But there's no resistance, so I'm only barely holding the line. And see, a salmon comes up, takes the fly, it drops back a little bit before it turns. So you get the initial pull, and then it starts to accelerate. Once it's accelerating, you know the fish has turned. So you feel it, whoop, and then it starts to go and increases in speed. That might take half a second. It might take 1.5 seconds. But by holding the loop line, you're in control and you know what's happening. So you know when to give it that extra split second and when to lift. That's my tuppence.
Right. Well, Garrett, early season.
With you. Fully with you. I'm a reasonably good salmon fisherman, and as a result of that and letting fish take the loop, or even if I'm feeling lazy, fish it off the reel, I've become a shockingly poor trout fisherman. Tom, if I was out in the boat with you, you'd be battering me. It's kind of hit him. Are you going to lift that? Are you going to strike that? And it's kind of, no, let him take the loop. No, I'm full. I have been berated for years when I was learning my salmon fishing trade. And now, I'll always feed him the loop, always. And sometimes later in the year, boom, loop is gone on the reel, screaming. But this time of year, it reminds me of fishing in Iceland, glacial rivers in Iceland, like even in July, the water temperature 6-7 degrees, and you're hitting fish, 12, 14, 15 pound fish, and the gentlest of little tap, tap.
Yeah.
And at the time you're thinking, is that the bottom? Is that the bottom? And then the bottom just slowly starts to move away. So, yeah, this time of year, don't be in a rush. You may get that take. If you make a mess of it, it may be another 3 weeks before you get another take. So take your time. You've waited long enough. Give them that second and a half to take it.
It's pilot error then.
Too many times.
Might I just say though, to be honest with you, I don't think I'll be admonishing you because I've seen more fish lost through quick striking as a guide here, and particularly with dries and buzzers. So yeah, I mightn't be giving out to you too much, you know.
Back to you, Tom. You said you were out today. Anything happening?
Okay, so duck fly started here, and yeah, we one nice fish, but it just went off in the afternoon then, bit before the morning, a bit going on, and we'd hoped for a bit more, and it just didn't materialize. First time that the temperature picked up today, and I've heard talking since I've come in, there was good hatches in other parts of the lake. Just didn't come on today. Look, it's early days with this yet, so hopefully it'll come right. But it's the start. At least we had a bit of action anyway, and we saw some fish.
And are anglers out yet?
Yeah,
I know historic lads are just leaving it a little bit later now because March has become a colder month than what I remember it was. So lads are now out. The anglers.
Yeah, they are,
the
but it wasn't as big. I don't know how you found it. I mean, traditionally with us, St. Patrick's Day would be big day out, but wasn't as big this year. But then it wasn't a nice day. It's like what you're saying there. Traditionally, I suppose it has become colder, and guys are just putting it off. But look, we're all of the thing. We know conditions dictate everything, and it's just like, I mean, the classic case there was what you just said, Conor. Like, if the river was in the right order, you'd have been out fishing seriously in earnest before this. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not seeing too many out, Garrett, no?
No. I was speaking to one of the guys who looks after one of the mid-Moy beats today. He hasn't even opened his gate yet. It's just too high. And he's not putting his time and effort into it yet. No, not yet.
Maybe we're all getting a bit soft. Listen, just while you're on, we're going to digress a little bit now, but while you're on, Conor, I wouldn't mind bringing up, and we had you on last year talking about it, the whole thing that happened with the Blackwater and the fish kill. You've been heavily involved in that, and fair play to you. You've put a lot of time into it and everything. Can you give us any little bit of an update on it?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So yeah, we've been, I suppose, in reasonable correspondence with the IFI and with the Minister's Department. There's been an awful lot of habitat restoration work promised. There was a water quality monitor purchased by IFI to be put into a tributary of the Blackwater, round about where the fish kill started. There has also been quite a lot of movement between clubs here and indeed all around the country. I've had contact from clubs as far up as the Foyle system, inquiring about water quality monitors to try and find a package or a system that would work for them. Obviously, it will be system specific, but there's a significant movement there now from angling clubs and syndicates and fisheries to actually go about this themselves. Not really willing to wait for legislation to change or for the powers that be to invest in enough or adequate numbers of these monitors. So there's been a big step forward. That's probably the biggest step forward, is that people are now looking at getting on top of the water quality and seeing what they can do themselves to keep an eye on it. There are systems out there. I've had a number of different companies there throwing different stuff at us. Like I say, some people might prefer a slightly cheaper option. Somebody might be able to afford a more detailed one.
Yeah.
But there's some very comprehensive units available out there at the moment, and it's looking like we will get a few of them put into the river. I'm chasing funding as well at the moment. for them here. And the guys, like I say, in the other clubs are looking at packages themselves. So that's the really positive thing out of it. That can only be beneficial both for the trout and all the indigenous fish as well as the anadromous fish, the salmon and the sea trout, because if we look after the rivers and the water quality, it's a massive step in looking after the fish. Um, Outside of that, there's one facility that was really looked at during the course of the investigation, and they have issued notice to 98 members of staff. About 2 weeks ago, they issued a notice for redundancies. I just think that it's a very poor reflection on the management of the facility that they actually had to lay off the staff rather than upgrade the facilities. They had their discharge license suspended twice since we were talking last, once in November and once in January. They've had 38 non-compliance notices issued to them since the 15th of August last year. Rather than invest in it, they actually just shut the doors. So that's where that is. But that's not the only facility on the river. There's plenty of other water treatment plants that are operating over capacity, and all of this became aware as well, or we became aware of it, sorry, as well during the course of everything. So, yeah, things are tightening up. It's looking a little bit better. Long road ahead, but the signs are positive.
Conor, if I may say to you, without blowing smoke up your arse, your dedication and your clubs down in Mallow area and the middle Blackwater, I have to hand it to you, lads. You really grabbed it by the scruff of the neck. You got great publicity on it. Was it nationwide? I saw you on
Ear to the ground, I think.
Ear to the ground,
Yeah.
ear to the ground. Yeah, very, very good. And as you said, if nothing else, it's brought great awareness. And if the one good thing that comes out of the massive pollution incident, that it'll bring the whole thing to the forefront, more responsibility on bodies, governing bodies, production facilities, and now clubs are just going to be that little bit more buoyed and know that they're just not going to be downtrodden. Good on you and the boys. Inspirational. So hopefully more will come of it.
Yeah, thanks, Garrett. And like that, there's a number of guys down here that have worked tirelessly, lads in the club with me here, and Mallow, predominantly. Yeah, we give it our all. It basically took over our lives there. For the duration of it, you can ask my wife that one. But but no, it's good to see the people actually coming together on this, and it's a broader spectrum than just the angling community. The general public as a whole, like there's people that have come to me here that have never fished in their lives or no interest in it or inclination to go, but we're just appalled by the whole situation here, and that has helped get the awareness and the publicity needed to get the action.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's absolutely fantastic what you've been doing, and I completely go along with what Garrett said to you there. Just one thing I did notice as well. Do you remember that this facility had to close, and you could see it in certain reporting, the way spin can be put on things. Do you know, 98 people are to lose their jobs, and that's the headline you see, and it's sort of, it's whose fault is that? Oh, it's but and I think it's very important how you put it there. The fault was on the company that couldn't even bother to upgrade their own the facility itself, to comply and to have a proper facility in place that wasn't how many non-compliance, 30 whatever, I mean, the onus is on industry to keep everything right. And then to see it, and I did see that headline almost as if, the big thing is here, people have lost their jobs. And it's not nice when people lose their jobs. No. Let's not, let's be fully aware of that. But, it's got to be said, and you've just put it there, the facility didn't see fit to upgrade their plant to a proper level.
That's it. Exactly, Tom. Yeah. As I said, nobody wants to see anyone out of a job, especially the timing of it. There was, it's just, yeah, it's a terrible situation for those people. You don't want to see them out of a job. Nobody wants that. But at the end of the day, it's the management that run the company, and the onus is on them.
Yep. Moving on, I was going to ask you, there was a lot said about regulations coming in this year on the salmon. As you guys know, I'm a trout man. I think the regulations are very much the same for this year coming, are they? With regards to the license for the rod anglers?
So I might just jump in there, Garrett. It's a unique position that we find ourselves in the sense that usually the regulations are signed off by the 20th of December ahead of the opening of the season and the draws on the 1st of January. But this year, there was a number of submissions, and the minister and his department couldn't get through them on time, so they decided that it was going to take a longer period of time. A number of the submissions that were since published were actually complaining about the short time frame to submit them. So what the Minister's office has done is give a second draft proposal with a consultation period. Okay, now that is up. I think I can't remember now, it was about 2 weeks ago anyway, but it's since finished. So it should be on the Minister's desk at the moment for consideration. But what you're talking about there, Tom, is until these new draft proposals are signed off, we have reverted back to last year's regulations. Okay. It's going to be a temporary thing. Okay, so we're just sitting in the 2025 regulations until such time as the new draft proposals are signed off. So we will have regulations to be implemented whether we don't have a time frame on it. I'd imagine it'll be in the next couple of weeks, I would hope. The sooner it's done, the better for clarification. It should have been done much earlier than this, because now you have fisheries trying to implement two different sets of regulations during the course of the season. But that's where we are. So we are currently on the 2025 regulations, but it will change probably within a couple of weeks.
Right. So just it's a case of watch this space.
Pretty much. Been an awful lot of stuff circulating in social media, but that's about it in a nutshell. That's where we are. We are completely waiting on the minister now and his office to sign off the draft proposals. I would imagine there was a fairly significant amount of submissions this time around as well. I believe there was, I'm not sure, I can't remember actually, to be honest, how many were in the first round, but I would say there's quite a number more in this round now. So
could you just explain, Conor, what exactly are all these submissions? I mean, like, to somebody who just says, let's say, buys a license for a couple of days and that's it, and that's all they know about it. But the normal procedure where submissions have to be in by the 20th of December. What are they pertaining to? Is it salmon fishing as a whole in Ireland, or is it in certain areas? Is it the closing of rivers or the opening of rivers? What is it?
Yeah, so it's basically a system by system basis. So they take the scientific data, or as much of it as they can muster from each system. There's anglers' logbooks returns, and if there's a commercial fishery in the system, they take the netsman's returns as well. They accumulate that, and they establish a percentage chance of reaching the conservation limit. Now, it's based on a 75% chance of making your conservation limit. So if the river is below its conservation limit, it's deemed that there should be no harvestable surplus on the river. So then it goes catch and release. But what happens is they take all this information, they publish this information to the public. The public is entitled to read it, and the public then has 1 month to dissect the information and give their opinion in the submission. So you have the 1 month public consultation period where anglers or anybody can actually write into the Minister's Department and express their own opinion. So I think 1 month is plenty of time for someone to actually get their thoughts together, sit down, compose an email, and send it to the minister. So that's what they've done. That's the way it works. Then those submissions are taken in, and they're looked at, they're considered, and they're put in balance with the scientific data. And the minister then takes them into consideration and comes up with his final proposal. He may or may not change from the draft proposals. So if a lot of the public consultation letters are kind of along the same lines, that's fine. He will just sign it off and not change it. But sometimes if there's extenuating circumstances, he may change from the draft proposals to the finished proposals, if you follow me.
Yeah.
There was one major point that I raised with the minister in my submission. Nowhere in the draft proposals did it mention the fish kill on the Blackwater or the impact of it. It seems to me that they never took this into consideration when they wrote the draft proposals. See, so that's a big boo-boo. Now, I know this year we won't be affected by it, but we should be taking our chances because the smoke went out in April last year. So we should be taking the chance to future-proof the river and the stocks in the river ahead of the impact that we're going to experience 2027 and on. That was one thing. That's just an example of what you can put into the consultation to have an effect on the draft proposals. There's a lot of stuff to it, and I'm only just glancing over it, but that's basically what they do. Scientific data, publish it, let the public review it, have their say, and then sign it off, whatever they decide.
Like even just on a system-by-system basis, back to your home river, Conor, when the initial changes were put out by the minister, the Blackwater was put catch and release. So resultantly, the draft net fisheries, they would cease to operate because there's no harvestable surplus. But now it's reverted back, it even temporarily reverted back to the 25. That means the nets are back on, and there may be a harvestable surplus for anglers. So it's massive changes to systems depending which way the dice will roll and what way it'll go.
Yeah, you're spot on, Garrett, and that's why all of this should have been done and dusted before the start of any season. So to be fair to everyone, they would have known what's ahead for tourism angling coming in. They know what the regulations are. Fisheries the same. They know how to instruct their guests. Clubs, the whole lot, the same thing. Okay. But just back to my own river there again. They changed the chance, so they reverted to an 85% chance of the conservation limit the first time around. That's why we went immediately to a zero harvestable surplus. They estimated the Blackwater to be at 90% of its conservation limit. So that's why we had no harvestable surplus. Then they changed it back to a 75% chance. And we ended up on the second set of draft proposals. We ended up with a harvestable surplus of 1,317 fish. But they deemed that unmanageable. It's too small of a quota for such a large system. So they said that they couldn't police it. So they just wiped that out and said, no, we can't manage that. So it's just going to go catch and release with no commercial fishery. So as it stands, the second set of draft proposals still leaves the Blackwater fully catch and release, even though there was an estimated harvestable surplus. Does that make sense?
It does, and it kind of went the complete opposite way up here on the Moy.
Yeah, I'm only explaining what they did. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with it. I'm just explaining what's happened.
Fully agree, and I'm not giving my hand away which side of it or not, but as you said, they were given a 1,300 surplus on the Blackwater, and they said they'd scratch it. They estimated that there would be a harvestable surplus for the Moy of a similar figure for 1,300 for this year. So they proposed making it a brown tag. You'd apply for your tag through lottery. If you get a brown tag, you're entitled to harvest the fish. Didn't go down too well. There was a lot of lobbying done. And then when in the second set of changes came out, there was talk that maybe anglers will be offered 7 fish to be harvested from the Moy per rod license. As you said, that has yet to be seen what's going to come of it. But 7 is a lot of fish per angler from any system. I'm not getting into politics of it. We're here for an open chat, but there's nothing set in stone yet. But there's been an awful lot of change. As you said, there's an awful lot of confusion and an awful lot of change, and we are eagerly waiting to see what the minister is going to come out with in the next few weeks.
Yeah, there's one other issue that I can see from that. And this is nationwide. Like, I mean, they're telling us that they're trying to protect the multi-sea winter fish by deferring the harvest period to the 1st of June, but without a size limit on the fish that they're allowing you to take, you're not actually protecting the multi-sea winter fish, you're merely deferring the harvesting period.
And has that never been broached at all? Because that seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I've said it numerous times. I have written to the powers that be, but apparently they would have to implement a bylaw to introduce a size limit. So, in the words of Roy Keane, just do your job.
Yeah,
it's your job. Do it. That has to be something that definitely needs to be broached. And I think most people, regardless of where you stand on a lot of things, would be in accordance with that. But anyway, as you touched on there, Gareth, a lot of can of worms have been open and it's led to confusion and everything. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up here. But basically, we're going to just have to wait and see and what's coming up. And we'll, after a couple of weeks, we'll know more.
Seems to be, Tom, yeah.
Seems to be. It's great to have you on again, Conor. And it was nice for a lot of us that we were actually talking a bit about, first of all, we talked about fishing. We discussed that before we came on and what we'll actually go and get doing and tactics. That was nice. And hopefully we'll do a bit more of that again sometime. It was nice to be a bit upbeat. Now, I know we're always the same, us anglers. And I'm the same. When I push the boat out first day of the year, I think this is going to be the year. We always think that, don't we? It's always going to be the year. But no, just listening to the TUI and with the bit of news and the bit of news from across the water in Scotland, you can only hope that maybe things might be on the up. Yeah.
Well, and just one other thing, a river that is not historically a salmon river. I know of a chap who was out spinning for pike and he landed 2 springers in 2 days. And this is not a salmon river. So we're going to take that as a positive, definitely.
Funnily enough, Garrett, I know what you're talking about.
The jungle drums have been beating, have they?
Pretty much, yeah.
Nothing more being said from me.
No, nor me either. Yeah. Look, again, I went for a cast yesterday evening, my first time out this year. Not on the Blackwater, on a different river, which will remain anonymous. But I saw a few fish. I saw 3 springers yesterday evening. So that is encouraging.
Not like you, Conor. You'd normally have 2 of them landed. You're slipping.
Slipping.
Actually, you touched on it there, Garrett, and I meant to bring it up. And is it the case? I've often heard it that because you mentioned about local knowledge, springer lies tend to be the same year in, year out. Is that the way?
Within reason, yeah. Once there's been no catastrophic storms down through it, and it's totally reshaped the base of the river. But a lot of lies in the stretches that I fish, when you're fishing over bedrock. It doesn't tend to change very much. Yeah. If you're fishing more shingle or gravel, you nearly have to relearn it every year.
Right.
But yeah, within reason, 70% of the lies that I know are relatively unchanged after big storms. Well, you'll go out the following June, July, when the water's low and the fishing's poor, you'll actually go out and kind of chart it and map it to see if anything has changed. Yeah, but within reason, a lie is a lie. Yeah.
But I'd just like to expand on a little bit there, Tom, to finish off with a tip for anyone that's actually going to venture out for the first throw of the season the next week or so. You're getting out, like Gareth was saying there, if you do know the lies, cover as many as possible, cover as much ground as possible, trying to find the fish. There's not many of them in the river, so that it's quite possible you'll be covering lies with no fish. So you need to cover as much ground as possible. don't spend too long in the pool. Well, my usual routine would be like 3 or 4 steps between casts, but when I know I'm covering a lie, I might take maybe 2 or 3 casts off the one step and then move again. So cover as much ground as possible, because spring fish, if you do find them, they're pretty good takers. So once you find them, you're in with a shout.
Excellent. That's a good bit of advice, and I think that's a perfect way to finish our first podcast of 2026. A good bit of advice for all of us going ahead and out on the water. Listen, Conor, it's been really great chatting to you. We'll touch base with you later on in the season again, but thanks for joining us again. And my ad, and Garrett said it as well. Fair play to you for all the work you've been doing outside of casting a line with regards to looking after the water.
Not about it, Tom. Thanks very much. Thanks, Garrett.
Good luck, Conor. Good night, Conor. Good night, Tom. Thanks, lads. Our thanks to Conor for joining us on this episode. Don't forget to rate, review, and follow Ireland on the Fly on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Thank you.
Plus, you can keep up to date on IrelandOnTheFly.com, as well as Instagram and Facebook. We will be back with another episode on the people and places of fly fishing in Ireland.